Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs.
We're Laryssa and Liz, jewelry marketing experts with a combined 16 years of experience in jewelry marketing and proven track records in helping jewelry brands meet their goals. When you listen to or watch this podcast, you get an intimate and exclusive peek behind the curtain of all the things you wish you could know about earning success in this industry.
Welcome to episode 12. In this episode, we'll be talking all about influencer marketing and covering the following things. What does the influencer marketing landscape look like in 2022? Is influencer marketing worth it? And when should you be considering it for your brand? We also want to tell you about our insider community. When you join for only $20 a month, you'll have access to extended episodes full of tips that you can start implementing today and further resources about each topic that we discuss. To get access to this exclusive content, sign up by visiting successwithjewelry.com. All right, Liz, let's get into it.
So, Laryssa, before we get started, I'd love to know what influencers do you follow?
Not very many. I have to be honest with you. I think I have one favorite, and I've been following this person since like influencers equaled blogs. I love Atlantic Pacific. This woman, Blair Edie, she's one of my favorites, and it's mostly like apparel, but she does do accessories, jewelry, shoes, sunglasses, stuff like that. How about you?
I love following Eva Chen. And she's worked at Vogue. She's been an editor at Teen Vogue and Lucky and all kinds of publications. I think I got all of those right. But anyway, she's just like in New York going to Fashion Week. She has 3 kids. I love kind of seeing that side of her story too. And I think she just has a great fashion sense. And she does have a really classic and unique taste in jewelry too. So I love seeing that. And then also I love this gal, Harling Ross. She used to write for the Man Repeller. And I really like her like kind of quirky style. So those are a couple that I follow. But I get kind of lost in some, influencers' fashion sense. And I don't even know if the two I mentioned sought out to be influencers. I think that they just kind of were in the media and kind of moved along to that. But anyway, those are 2 that I really enjoy.
Have you ever bought something as a result of seeing it on an influencer?
I've followed people. I've certainly followed people. And I've thought about buying things. How about you?
I think same. I mean, I definitely learned about brands and became aware of products that I didn't know about, but I'm not sure I ever purchased because a lot of the ones I follow are super aspirational and I just choose not to spend my money on like multi-$1,000 pieces of apparel and accessories.
Yeah, that's actually how I was going to respond to that question, is that I usually look at what they're promoting and I'm sometimes interested, but I can usually not afford it.
So let's talk about influencer marketing in 2022. What does it look like? What can people expect if they're kind of like looking into this strategy?
I think it's changed so much. I mean, we know it's changed so much. The first influencer campaign I managed was in 2010 or 2011 or right around then, and it was for Black & Decker steam mops, and we partnered with this blogger, Young House Love, that was huge at the time and had millions of followers, and they did this great blog post for us just for trade of a steam mop and a couple to give away to their followers. So it's so different now because the price of that post back then now would be so much more expensive. And then also at that time we were looking for these blogs. Blogging was the thing at the time. Instagram hadn't even launched yet, I don't think, or it was just launching. And we were looking for huge followings. We were trying to reach as many people as possible. And back then that strategy worked. But now you want to think more specific and more niche, which is kind of a trend that we've talked about before. But leaning into that niche, knowing your audience and thinking about micro and nano influencers is the way to go going forward.
Yeah, and even the term influencer marketing, I feel like it's a little bit outdated. I hear in marketing the term is more like creator collaborations, that influencers are now called creators. And I think especially with the rise of TikTok, which is so much more of like a creator kind of platform, as opposed to just like taking a picture or writing a blog post, that these people are investing time into making content, and it's usually in collaboration with the brands that they're working with. So kind of the terminology is different as well.
And there's so many more places to kind of look and more mediums. So you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have podcasts to look into. And of course, there's always like real in person events and things like that you can consider. But in terms of online influencers and partnerships, there's just a lot of different platforms to think about.
I thought it was just total tangent, that funny that you mentioned podcasts, because I have a podcast for the industry, and jewelry brands, business owners, their PR people reach out to me all the time to have them as guests on my podcast. And this is a point about knowing your audience. Who are you trying to reach? I don't think it makes sense for someone like that to be reaching other jewelry designers who are probably listening to my podcast. So it's really important to keep that in mind when you're looking for influencers.
Yeah, so that's, getting into who you should choose to work with, or when you should think about influencer marketing, when it makes sense for your brand. The first things you want to know is like, what are your goals and who are you talking to?
Absolutely. You need to know your target customer, not only the demographic information, but what makes them want to buy something. What are they inspired or motivated by? What makes them not want to buy something? What makes them like want to follow a brand or to ultimately like give their credit card information? What platforms are they spending time on? If you can't identify those things, you're going to have a really hard time finding the right influencer for you.
So it costs a lot of money to pursue influencer marketing at this point. What does it really cost?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to work with a bigger influencer, and I'm saying maybe like multi 100,000, like 250,000 plus, I've gotten quotes in the multi $1,000s per post, like let's say $6,000, which is an actual quote I got from an influencer for one post. That is very out of reach for most brands, unless you're like a corporate brand. And even at that point, I'm sure their marketing department would be asking, is it worth it for whatever goal that we have? Working with smaller influencers, we're going to call them nano or micro influencers. I think there are still opportunities for doing it for trade. So trading product for content. But you would really have to find those people organically, because most people who do the influencer stuff for a living are charging like pretty high fees for the content.
And you don't just want to do one post, you want to make sure that you're showing up regularly. So you could pay $6,000 for a post and also gift a piece of product, but then they wear that product all of the time and they don't tag you because you had agreed on this one post. So when you do pursue it, no matter the cost, if you decide you've decided to do this, make sure you're really clear about what you're getting and look for somebody who really wants to partner with you and really support your brand.
Absolutely. To your point, one way you can know if this is right for you is if you're ready to commit to it for the long term. Because just like PR, which we had talked about in a previous episode, to make this worthwhile, it needs to be a long-term strategy. And best scenario, with one person or with a couple people who could really be your true brand ambassadors, not just like a one-off vanity thing that looks great because they have a lot of followers.
And I think that really anyone can be an influencer now. And I think that's why we've shifted to this term creator, because, the people doing it for a living are really creating this content and going out of their way to do it. But, we're all really influencers. I share my jewelry of the day, and I know people have purchased from designers I've shared just because they've seen it so many times and they've decided they've liked it. So you can think really outside of the box when it comes to choosing influencers to partner with. It could be clients of yours. It could be collaborating with an artist that really makes sense. You don't necessarily need to pursue somebody who's doing it professionally.
Yes, and I know that Liz loves working on a local level. So don't just think about digital and social media and about people who live in other places. Think about the people in your actual community. Maybe like a fashionista in your local city, or someone in politics or like a community organizer or like a newscaster person or just someone who's like about town. So that's a great place to start, especially if you sell to a local audience.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. She's an Instagrammer. She loves the Enneagram in Asheville, and she collaborated on a piece with Solku, which is this really local business, jewelry business here. They create like gemstone jewelry and like meaningful jewelry, intention jewelry kind of thing. And she's always at the local coffee shops. I see her wearing this necklace like all the time on her Instagram and, you know, out and about. So that's kind of a cool idea in terms of how do you, you know, get involved in that local audience and partner with somebody who's kind of about town locally.
Definitely. And thinking more about the investment, I was just kind of thinking of this because you were saying this influencer is wearing the jewelry all the time, taking photos of it. If you really have the appropriate type of partnership and there's the permission to like reuse the photography, working with someone like that could end up being more cost effective than like hiring photography models, stylists, makeup, hair, etc. to do like a full lifestyle shoot however often you need to be doing it. So you can consider that also when it comes to the investment.
When I was working with Todd Reed in Boulder, we would invite people in, influencers, bloggers, people who needed photo or jewelry for a photo shoot all the time to borrow, just because then we'd get to use that content. Which, of course, make sure that you can do that before you, you know, pursue a partnership like this. But it's so helpful because we need so much content. It's a great kind of workaround to doing a photo shoot. So you have a great way to kind of find people to partner with. Any tips? Do you want to share those tips?
Yeah, so if you have a bigger budget, of course there are agencies who could do this for you. There are different influencer marketing like research tools, but I think one of the best ways to do it, especially if you're pursuing nano and micro influencers, is to utilize Instagram as a tool and just spend the time kind of doing the research, cultivating more organic relationships. So you could look at hashtags, you could look at the explore page, you can look through your own followers, people who've liked, commented, DM'd you before, and start there and follow them back, interact with their content, see if there's a mutual interest. Are they interacting with you back? And then you will, over time, maybe not immediately, but you'll see the people who might make sense to reach out to.
Yeah, I think there's probably already people who are advocates for your brand that are right there, prime for you to reach out to. But really thinking about what you resonate with too and who you follow, which is why we kind of started this episode with, you know, talking about influencers that we connect with. Because I think that knowing that, as well as knowing your audience and your goals and making sure all of those things align, is really the best way to get the most out of an influencer campaign.
Definitely, because at the end of the day, you don't just want someone who has a big following or can create beautiful content, but you want someone, most importantly, who's invested in your success as well and who's on board with your goals, knows what they are, and is committed to genuinely helping you want to achieve those goals. So, are you curious about influencer marketing? Have you ever considered which influencers might be a good fit for your brand? You can visit successwithjewelry.com to sign up for the extended version of this episode as well as exclusive content. Thanks so much for listening or watching.